you've uncovered a lot about the medical industry, right? And you've seen the greed and evils of man. How has that influenced your view of mankind or humans?
Yeah. I think we humans have a flaw. I think that in order to live in groups, initially hunter-gatherer groups and then larger societies, we need to be able to accept a common view of reality so that we can interact based on that. And I think we've got a weakness built in to accept as knowledge, the culture that we're in and the cultural memes, I guess is the best word. And now with technology being so advanced and being so quick to produce so-called knowledge that becomes commonly accepted, that we're now vulnerable to being abused by the producers of this knowledge. And this is where we are, and being on the cusp of artificial intelligence is going to put this whole problem on steroids. But what we're weak at is critical thinking. And I think in this complex world, with a lot of information coming and expert information not necessarily being free of conflicts of interest, financial conflicts of interest, we've got to be critical thinkers to protect ourselves and our families from the excesses of the society. And the need for that grows and grows and grows. But unfortunately, the invasiveness of misinformation and destructive information grows faster than our ability to become critical thinkers. And I think this is the issue that's going to determine how we go as a species in the next 10, 50, 100 years. And it's really hard because the press now is largely influenced, not totally influenced, but largely influenced by these economic pressures. And so where can people get their information that they can trust? This is a critical, it may be an existential issue. And I think that it's people like you who can bring honest information to the public that are necessary. It's like the oxygen we need to get our brains straightened out so that we can understand what a good life is and then how to organize together so we can achieve a good life for everybody.
I want to jump back to the critical thinking, and the question I have for you is that even when presented with quality, truthful information, can people process that information?
It's very hard for people to process that information alone. Everyone's part of a community. And when I give a talk to lay people, not doctors, and they say, what can I do? My first response is, talk to your friends, talk to your families, talk about these things. Make talking about these things normal, okay. It's abnormal. It's abnormal for me to come into a room of doctors and say there's a 1.1 million excess American deaths a year, and for that we're wasting $2.3 trillion a year. That's abnormal. That's not polite conversation. But we've got to be comfortable with our own, have the confidence to gain the information and then to share the information. But start with the people immediately around you. You don't have to go on TV with information you're not sure. Just start the conversation. Hey, our healthcare is really messed up. I had no idea how messed up it is. Talk to people. Once you start to talk and look at it, you're going to see some stuff in the news. I'm going to make a shameless plug for my book. If you can't afford the book, get in touch with me. I'll send you a PDF. But you gotta read these sources that aren't normal in the sense of with the program, with the cultural program, the normative cultural program. but they're responsible. Now, it's not easy to decide who's not normal, but who is responsible. But that decision you've got to make. But make the decision and just start talking about what it is that's preventing our family and our community and our people from living better lives, from not having to work 60 hours a week, from not having both parents out of the house working just so we can have a decent life for our kids and maybe get our kids to reach their potential. We're in a tough place right now, but we gotta start talking. And the other thing is, please don't be distracted by the polarization in Washington. The right and the left are so busy arguing with each other, they forget that there's a huge common area, and we ought to be talking about building the common area, not fighting about the fringes of what we believe. We've got to do that, and it's the same in medicine. We've got to be talking among the doctors and the nurses and the patients, and everybody's got to be talking about what's the common space that's going to straighten this out. And it's only by establishing that common space that we're going to become powerful enough to reclaim the purpose of all this activity in human terms instead of economic terms.
What are your thoughts about AI replacing low-skilled jobs? It's already happened a lot. We don't have the robot there, so a lot of jobs have been replaced through technology.
Yeah.
But even more jobs, I guess, that needs a little human labor.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's a real risk. I mean, it's really a redux of the globalization of the economy. When we shipped low-skilled jobs that Americans were doing off to less wealthy countries so that we could pay those laborers less money and they had less environmental regulation. So American workers got hurt by that. And that, I think that's part of what's created the political turmoil now, because people are angry that they're not living the lives they thought they were going to live, and that anger may take a right-wing turn, it may take a left-wing turn, but the anger isn't going to help. So I think it's a real risk, but I think a bigger risk is that it's going to take high-skilled jobs. I just saw an article just this morning, an article that just came out that compared artificial intelligence to a doctor diagnosing different conditions. And the AI did better for some things and not as well for other things. But there's a huge risk that we're going to just turn over responsibility for our thinking to AI, when I know the question you raised before about how long should a primary care visit be. A primary care visit should be long enough to deal with what you got medically and to touch somebody's soul. And AI may pretend to do that, but it's not going to do it. And I think we've got to really protect ourselves, whether it's through the church, through critical thinking in an academic way, whatever it is that gets you to your core, we've got to protect that core and the core of the community. This is a real risk. I'm not an expert in this, but it's a real risk.